Namaste everyone. Krishna Kumar Ji always used to say that his flagship institution, AVP or Arya Vaidya Pharmacy, stands for Achar Vichar and Prachar. Achar means practicing of Ayurveda, Vichar means thinking or developing one's own thought process in Ayurveda, and Prachar means spreading Ayurveda or globalizing the science. He believed that his purpose in life was Achar Vichar and Prachar of Ayurveda and other Indian systems of knowledge. And he believed and he lived by this principle, and he urged those who were drawn to him to do so. It was Krishna Kumar Ji's vision to Prachar Ayurveda for everyone who seeks the knowledge. Since taking over the AVP group, he has managed to put Ayurveda in front of the world as a science by supporting research activities and encouraging educational programs, as well as standardizing medicine production and Ayurvedic treatments via multiple institutions of excellence. He has always been our guide, mentor, and he inspired and supported us to push the envelope in all ways to move Ayurveda forward. Even after his loss 1 year ago, we are committed to take his legacy forward, to see his plans through, and to realize his vision. Let's start with a prayer.
Shruti Smriti Puranokta Dharma Margaratham Gurum Bhaktanam Hidavaktaram Namasye Chitta Shuddhaye Advaitananda Paridam Sadhunam Bhakarina Sarvashastra Vidham Shantam Namasye Chitta Shuddhaye Karma Bhakti Jnana Marga Prachare Bhattakam Ganam Anugraha Pradadaram Namasye Chitta Shuddhaye.
Thank you, Doctor. Welcome to Prachar, inspired by Krishna Kumar Ji to mainstream Ayurveda and other Indian systems of knowledge globally. Organized by Ashirvad Health and Education Trust and Sharani Ayurveda Hospital, supported by the Arya Vaidya Pharmacy Coimbatore Limited and Ashirvad Ayurveda Pharmacy. A 7-day webinar to get to know leaders of Ayurvedic movement and innovation from across the globe, challenges and possibilities according to them in the education and practice of Ayurveda in their respective countries. On day 4, we are joined by Dr. N. Narayan Nambi, Dr. Bhaswati Bhattacharya, Mrs. Prabha Govindaswamy, Dr. Kenji Asakai, Dr. Tirtha Vijayaraj, and Dr. C.B. Soumya Kumar. Respected doctors, thank you for joining us. We welcome you to Prachar. They will be introduced to you in detail by our moderator. Our moderator for today is Dr. Nimin Sridhar. He did his BMS from Nangil Ayurveda Medical College, Kodamangalam, and he has been a student for Ayurveda for 2 decades. He found the Dravya app, which has won numerous awards, including Gold Award by the Ministry of Ayush. He is the Managing Director of Ekavaidya Knowledge Service Private Limited, one of the first registered startups in Ayurveda, working with the vision to make Ayurveda fast and Ayurveda first. He is the General Secretary of CR Agnivesh Foundation. He is the project coordinator of idea.in, which stands in Ayurveda Development, Innovation and Awareness. He is a research assistant and medical officer at Kerala Ayurveda Limited, faculty at Kerala Ayurveda Academy, USA, Mayur University, London, and Arya Vaidyan P, Kerala. We welcome you to the programs, Dr. Nimin.
Good evening and thank you. Gurave sarvalokanam tishate bhavaroginam nitaye sarva vidyanam dakshinamurtaye namaha. One night, Bhagavan Krishna was playing his flute, and the divine voice, the melody, enchanted all the gopikas, including Radha, and getting ecstatic, they all started dancing. And each and every one of those gopikas, including Radha, was having this feeling that Krishna was dancing with her alone, and while in fact Krishna was with all the gopikas at the same time. This was called Rasa Lila. It's been explained in elaborateness in Gita Govindan and all. With Krishna Kumar Ji, I always feel that he is playing this Rasa Lila with all of, because I only had a very few handful moments with him, and whenever I was there in his presence, I always felt that Krishna Kumar Ji was there in his office exclusively for me. And the interesting fact was that at the same point of time, there would be multiple people thinking the same thing. There is the care and concern Krishna Ji always showed to each and everyone who sought his support, solace, or mentorship. When you meet such a charismatic person like Krishna Kumar Ji, your life kind of splits into two. Right? Your life, entire life before meeting Krishna Kumar Ji, and the transformed, reformed life that you follow once you have met him. And I'm truly honored, and it was like such a great blessing for me to have met Krishna Kumar Ji and elaborated my dreams and passions of Ayurveda, and get his support and blessings to go ahead with my endeavors. And today we have gathered under the banner of the AVP group of institutions, the Saranya Hospital, Ashirwad Health and Education Trust, and the other institutes, with an aim of carrying forward with that great vision Krishna Kumar Ji has entrusted us for, which is mainstreaming Ayurveda and other Indian systems across the globe. And starting from the 17th of this month, we've been conducting this program, PRACHAAR, with this intention in mind. And we've been lucky to have a lot of very influential, very motivational speakers who had enlightened us on the way how Ayurveda is getting propagated across the globe. As a continuum, today we are joined by what I call transnational promoters of Ayurveda. They are having their roots in India, some of them, and wherever they have propagated Ayurveda, they have done it with such a furor and style and passion that we see volumes of people embracing Ayurveda in those regions, and those places are getting transformed into Ayurveda hotspots, if I may. So we have Dr. A.N. Narayan Nambi sir from India. We have Prabha Govinda Swami ma'am from New Zealand. We have Dr. Kenji Asakai from Japan, Dr. Tirtha Vijayaraj from Singapore, Dr. Pasudeep Bhattacharya from the USA, and Dr. Soumya Kumar from Malaysia. So I think without further ado, let's hear from the esteemed speakers. So I think we'll start with Narayan Nambisaran. It is like an overstatement to introduce him. So I thought let me recollect the story that I heard from the Ayurveda Trust campus when I went there once. Like Nambi sir was once visiting the AVP campus in Coimbatore, and due to some scheduling conflicts, Krishna Kumar Ji and him were not able to meet at the same time. And when it was informed to him that Krishna Kumar Ji would be now available, Nambi sir was already at the temple praying to the Murti, Lord Dhanvantari there. And while coming out, he was told that, yeah, Krishna Kumar Ji would be now available. And then he said, like, I think what I have to tell to Krishna Kumar Ji, I've already told to the Murti over there. So it will get conveyed. And I wanted to express this story because it not only just shows the bond, that brotherly bond that Krishna Kumar Ji and Nambi sir shared. It also showed that true connect of spirituality, which Krishna Kumar Ji imbibes in all of us. And if we are able to rise into the level of Nambi sir and all, we will still be able to communicate with Krishnakumar Ji directly through the medium of Lord Nandini himself. So this is the introduction that I had to give for Nandi sir. We all know that he hails from the most esteemed Ashtavidya family, the Aryavaidyan. There are innumerable excerpts from the traditional, the mythological, historical books of the region, like Aitihya Mala, which speaks volumes about the clinical prowess which Aryavaidyan had. And we are truly blessed to have a modern representative from this family for Ayurveda over here. And currently, he is serving as the principal of Ashtangam Ayurveda Vidyapidam, and he is the chief physician of their Chikitsalaya in the hospital. He is also the honorary director of SNA, and he is exclusively serving their academic and clinical services. Dr. Nambi had also a rare opportunity to be a student, a teacher, and a policy maker, not just in India, but in several institutes across the globe, like the Ayurvedic Point in Milan, and then the Veda Institute in Russia, several institutes in Australia and Switzerland, to name a few. So when it comes to an actual and factual detailing of what or an Ayurveda practitioner should expect when planning to go abroad as part of their career or education, and what is the world actually expecting out of an Ayurveda practitioner, one of the best persons to detail it upon is Dr. Nambi himself. So with all respect and affection, I welcome Dr. Narayan Nambi to enlighten us on this topic. Sir, over to you.
Thank you, Nimin, for your wonderful words. I think before I begin, I would like to say a few words about Krishna Kumar Ji on this occasion, because probably it's a very rare moment for me to meet. Whenever we go to Coimbatore, we always rush to meet Krishna Kumar Ji and have a conversations. Sometime it may start with the idea about something about Ayurveda. Then discussion may go to social perspectives of Vaidya. Then it may go to the spirituality and so on. Even sometime it goes to politics and even many dimensions. I still remember I had a really great time and conversation with Krishna Kumar Ji, hours together, especially the programs like Ayur Sutra, Ayur Sharira, when Ram Manohar was organizing this program. Most of the time, I'll be having a sessions one full day for this Ayur Sutra series and all. So I always try to rush previous day itself and stay either in the Ashirvad or this center or in the Dhanudri temple place and find some time to have interaction with Krishna Kumar Ji and so on. And more than that, not as a head of an industrial person or not like a person of a great entrepreneur. More than that, he is always very inspirational and trying to give a lot of new ideas. And every time when we have a conversation, he takes us to very deep dimensions of Ayurveda, especially how we should take Ayurveda forward. Moreover, he has a great a cosmopolitan perception of the science too. He was using all the new technologies, meantime rooting into the tradition. This was very rare combination. Obviously, we meet, of course, in the society, we may meet many legendary people in Ayurveda, but those who rigorously studying, those who rigorously observing the society, those who is trying to fill up the gaps of the society, those who are really looking at what people needs, those type of people are really rare. And most importantly, he was accessible to anybody in the society. Many times when a senior person happens, you may have some different hurdles to cross to reach a person and meet to find time, and maybe a short period interaction we get. But Krishna Kumar Ji was quite different. Sometimes we speak for a few hours. It was a rare occasion for many. So at this occasion, I have a great humble pranams and Shraddhanjali to Krishna Kumar Ji. and I still remember many of his conversation. Thank you, Nimin, for reminding me about Krishna Kumar Ji in this occasion again. So I have been asked to speak about a topic called and expectations and responsibilities for an Ayurvedic practitioner planning to go abroad. And of course, this is supposed to be, as per the organizer's schedule, this is supposed to be restricted to within next 10 minutes. So it's a bit challenge to say something about 15 years or 20 years we are working in this field and say things in a such a short way. It's like a shortest presentation ever. But let me try. One thing is very, very important, that I just tried to put this whole thing in a short method, that is strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. The biggest advantage what Ayurveda have, so far as a medical system is concerned from India, the important biggest advantage we have is that we have a universal outlook. Whatever the part of the world we travel, when we are giving a lessons to a Russia and the temperature is minus 32, still many of our treatments, many of our ideas, still it works there. Many medicals, I think most of the medical system may fail to do this. So the biggest advantage, first thing I should say, so far Ayurveda is concerned, those who are looking for a career abroad, you have to expand your perception, basically in the framework of the principle. We should have a very, very deep understanding of what is the principle approach, what our medical system, especially Ayurveda, what it wants to communicate. And also it is very advantage what we have comparing to any other medical system is that we have a system biological model. Our things works quite well even in any different climates, different geographical areas. So for example, we speak about different type of guna. I think it works everywhere. It can work in any part of the world, because that model, that system biological model is very simple. Meantime, it is very applied perception as the idea is taken from the nature itself. So that's the biggest strength we should analyze. We should look into the strength first. So then we'll go to the next part of it. Of course, it's also the biggest advantage what we have is that it's very natural and very traditional. It is rooted to our tradition and also very, very simple. But we have a lot of weaknesses. We have many, many weaknesses. First of all, we have a weakness because it has some socio-cultural linkage. It is linked to our society. So many information what we have in Ayurveda is linked to our culture, and we have to understand what is the real meaning, what they want to communicate. Not the verbal translation, what has been written in the textbook. This is very crucial. For example, Brahma Muhurta Uttishtet, you have to walk up in the Brahma Muhurta. For an Indian condition, the sun rises maybe between 5:45 to 6:30 most of the time in whole part of India. So we may say, okay, you take 1.5 hours or 2 hours before the sunrise. But when you are addressing a country where sun rises at 3 a.m., sun sets at 10 p.m., that time situation is quite different. So we have to understand the region, they understand the perceptions of that people's area, like that. So socio-cultural linkage is have some weakness we have, but if we are able to understand what has been told in the text in its deeper root sense, things will be much more easier, not to be taken as a verbal translation of the whole country. And interesting thing is that many times same words will come in many meaning. A word take like a rasa. So it comes in a different context, different meaning. One, it may be taste, one, it may be rasatadu, one may be mercury, one may be something else, mamsarasa. So same word comes with a different meaning in different contexts. This also become a big challenge when suppose we are teaching Ayurveda to outside. We have to explain people why we are using using the same word for different contexts, because our in Sanskrit, words are not constructed based on the objective perceptible framework. Rather, it is developed based on how it functions. That which is able to write is named as tulika, or the lekhani, that is the pen. Pen is named after the action of writing, not based on the structure. So based on that, this type of challenges obviously we may face. There are, when we communicate, even in India these things are easy, but when we are looking from outside perspective, this type of challenges will happen. Another interesting challenge is, weakness will be non-structured way of data. We cannot expect the content of Ayurveda, what we study in BAMS or what we study in PG. These are in a different way content is being developed. It looks like not structured from a Western point of view. People may think there is no structured way of putting into in Charaka Samhita or Sushruta or Vakpada Samhitas. So it looks like they are not structurally made out of it. So this will create a lot of challenges. And again, another challenge is the language and grammar. Like a Sanskrit, like a complex language, this also become a challenge. But so far a teacher is concerned, there are a lot of opportunities. Also a practitioner is concerned, there are a lot of opportunities. For a teacher, most of the time when we go, we expose outside India, by and large, people may be exposed to give some lessons, some introduction to Ayurveda, or we may have to link with some societies or some universities where you are asked to give some lectures there. So it is very, very important to have a proper idea which audience we are addressing. For that, we need an immense and very rigorous preparation is highly essential. So what type of audience we are addressing? Are they medical professions? Are they laymen? Are they nursing professions? Are they chiropractors, or what type of it? Based on that, we have to communicate in the right way as they expect. But this is an opportunity also, because it allows us to think very in a global perspective, more like a cosmopolitan perspective. And it also helps for us to have a cross-cultural dimensions. So there are a lot of things happens between one country to another country. There may be different cultures where we have a great opportunity. And if we are able to inspire a lot of people, there is a possibility to have a mentorship. So people can be a mentor. Suppose if you are doing this is the best way. You may become a practitioner slowly into that country, but there are a lot of threats too. For example, unfortunately, for a Westerner, those who really like to learn Ayurveda, there are not enough books available even in India. Of course, there are many books written by many people. In India, if you look at the total number of Ayurvedic books, there are two categories of books. One category of books is the classical books and have translation to English, Hindi, whatever. Another set of books really made to have a syllabus-based, BAM syllabus-based books, like as based on the CCIM syllabus, we have BAMS, PGs, these type of books. And the third categories of books are by and large are written by outside the people, not really from a professional background. They may be written about something, the appendages of Ayurveda. Maybe somebody will write about Ayurveda and yoga, Ayurveda and naturopathy, or some part of Ayurveda. And sometimes even there are some misconceptions. There are so many other things are mixed within that books, like vegetarianism, some herbalism, there are so many things not really into the close boundary of Ayurveda. There are so many things are there, even some philosophical things, even from Vedanta. There are so many things they will add and mix, and it make a lot of confusions. And and also there will be a lot of controversial statement between teachers also. Again, there may be a possibility of language constraint. Suppose, of course, we may believe that we know English well, so we can speak to a large number of audience. Not happens. Suppose we are addressing to Europe. Most of the European countries, doesn't have an expected communication language in English. So we have to either speak, we need a translation to Italian, German, Spanish, or French, whatever the language or people you are addressing it. And importantly, there may be a diversified interest. The people may come with a different interest. So we should have a proper idea of it. Keeping all these ideas, the strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats, I think we can have a discussions whenever I have been permitted to do so. I think these are the very crucial point to be understandable before you start a teaching and a practicing in any country. And most of the time, the best thing what we should do is to have learn a foreign language if people are interested. It will be very good, and have a wider reading outside Ayurveda, preferably outside frame of Ayurveda. Try to read outside books, those who are written in a different perspective. This will give a lot of information and which will help for framing how to become a person who goes, I mean to say, those who want to go to abroad may have a different perception to know what that country is, what the type of food they are eating, what type of culture they have. We should not have a prejudiced any perception before. I think, but these few words, I'll just wind up because I have been asked to speak about 10 minutes, so I'll stop here. And when time permits, I will speak more. Thank you, Nimin.
Thanks a lot, Nambi sir. Wow, what a wonderful way to start a session. I've already made a lot of points, which hopefully someday helps all of the new doctors who are spreading across the globe. We'll be having very burning questions towards the end of the session, so I request you to stay on along with us. So a quick question, Nambi sir. Like, out of your experience, what are some key skills that the new Vaidyas could imbibe from you, which would help them to become acceptable to different countries and cultures at the same time? Because I see that you have been to Germany, all the way to the European countries, and even to the Australia. And from what you said, the cultures differ widely. So, what are some universal key skills? A couple of them itself would be a good starter. Thank you.
What is important is that first and important thing, we should believe that we have to accept that we know very little. From that, learning starts. Probably the BAMS graduation and post-graduation may have a gathering of enormous data, a large quantity of information. We may be the best in the university with a high rank. It doesn't make many things sense when we are speaking to a country outside. For example, if I'm quoting a shloka from Charaka Samhita, if I know so many shlokas from Ashtanga, doesn't make any sense for them. Rather, if I'm able to communicate very logically what this knowledge system want to communicate to the health of the people, from there, everything we should start. Let me give you an example. That Brahma Muhurta Ittushte, the example what I quoted. Somebody is asking, sir, here sun rises at morning 4 a.m. So you are saying we have to wake up at Brahma Muhurta, that means 2 hours before sunrise. Do you mean that we have to wake up at 2 a.m.? No. That's one meaning of Brahma Muhurta, that you woke up. Brahma Muhurta is 1.5 hours or 2 hours before sunrise. Of course, I can give so much of explanation from the commentary from Arunath and Hemadri, but that's a different thing. But what I supposed to answer to them is to understand them. So what I should explain to the student is, you see, what is that Brahma Muhurtam? Muhurtam is a unit of time. It's a unit of time. You have a Brahma Muhurtam, means there is a unit of time with inside your body where you have a balance of dosha, dhatu, and mala. You had a dinner 1.5 hours, 2 hours before you sleep. You slept very well and you had a wonderful sleep. And there is a point in the sleep, your body reached samadosha, samagni, samathadu, malakriya status. There is a point. That inner time is a Brahma Muhurta to you. It doesn't reference to the outside. It is to you. That makes the sense. That's the way. That's the way we should do.
Yes, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Nandi, sir. So please stay tuned.
Thank you,
sir. Yeah, our next speaker, I would say that she is into building bridges. I'm not meaning it is physical bridges, but even a better one. They are bridges of education. I wonder if it is her roots in Coimbatore or the intimate relationship with AVP and Krishna Kumar Ji that Ms. Prabha Govindasamy has cultivated some amazing capacities that we also find in Krishna Kumar Ji. A natural catalyst for activity, energizing team to productive and dynamic capacities, rational problem solver who is also analytical, straightforward and assertive. We find the similarity in both in our next speaker, Mr. Prabha Govindasamy and Krishna Kumar Ji as well. She grew up to become a serial entrepreneur with a focus on tertiary education. And currently, she is the managing director of Guys Brooks Group. She crafts academic courses and education access programs, especially for people in India and Southeast Asia. And she bridges it to the top institutes of New Zealand. Also, her efforts to rehabilitate and empower women in New Zealand through organizations like Integrated Neurological Rehabilitation Foundation and Shakti are very commendable. Ms. Prabhaji, we are interested to know how all you have been propagating Ayurveda in New Zealand and how is New Zealand warming up to Ayurveda? Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Nimin, for the great introduction. It's a pleasure being here, thinking Krishna Kumar Ji. Vanakkam, Kiora, and greetings. I want to share both personal and professional connections to Dr. KKG. My journey started for very personal reasons, and AVP became my home away from home. I had migrated to New Zealand and worked in the higher education sector, but soon some family health issues escalated, and the only point of rescue was Ayurveda and Dr. Krishna Kumar Ji, who became our savior. This started in 1998, and every year from then on, our summer holiday was spent at AVP Ramanathapuram. Doctors Narayan, Indulal, and Ravindran were the team and became a part of our family life too. The warmth and care of the AVP family gave us the strength to lead our lives with less fear. Most of our fear was steadily replaced by faith, a faith that AVP led us to follow. Of course, I had to face the challenges from family and friends in following our faith, the Ayurveda pathway. Was it destiny or blessing or what else? I don't know. Even today, I don't know. We religiously followed the advice and guidance of AVP family, and we knew that our life had some meaning to it from then on. My personal experience and comfort in AVP helped me bring our chairman, Mr. Giles Bricker, to visit AVP. He was quick in identifying the contrast between the Western scientific approach and the science embedded in the Ayurvedic philosophy. To borrow Dr. Indulal's words, practice-based evidence in contrast to evidence-based practice. And the potential for Ayurveda to support the resurgence of the indigenous health systems of New Zealand, Rangova, Maori. We do have an indigenous population in New Zealand. Mr. Bricker took back the spark to New Zealand and started talking about Dr. KKG and his services to the community in various forums. Slowly and sometimes painfully, the spark lit the fire, and we were able to bring faculty to support some educational developments with AVP and finally gained approval and funding from the New Zealand Prime Minister's Scholarship to bring a group of Maori students to stay at Mangarai and experience Ayurveda for 6 weeks. This we see as a great achievement. And this wouldn't have happened without the support of Krishna Kumar Ji, patiently waiting for years and years for such an opportunity for both sides of the universe. Let me stop here and share a video that echoes experiential learning and the transformation that happened in lives of a bunch of Kiwis at AVP with warm blessings and direct interaction with KKG. I'd like to share also an audio clip after the video clip of one from Mrs. Kerry Jones, who's almost a total convert now. I thank this forum again for giving us this opportunity to present about how the education of Ayurvedic experiences started in India, but traveled all the way to New Zealand, and a bunch of Kiwis were able to enjoy and experience the same at Mangarai. May I now request the video to be shared, please.
Thank you, Prabha. The video will be shared shortly.
The day that we arrived here, we were shown around by Dr. Abi, and I remember walking around and feeling like I was in a daze. But as we walked around and felt the earth beneath our feet and the mountains up high, there was a real calmness that came over us all. It was really amazing to think that we were in India and this would be our home for the next 6 weeks.
So many highlights while I've been in India, but I think what's important for me is where have I come from when I started here 6 weeks ago to who's the person that is going home.
I came here open-minded, lots to take in from all our doctors, and every day having teaching, lecturers after lectures. I've never done that. So that was something that I had to adapt and get used to, and just to retrain the mind to think about the subjects, the topics.
I came with my cup empty, and certainly my cup is extremely full from all the learnings and teachings, and every single thing is part of our whole entire universe. It's all related.
As a Māori coming into a land that I've never been here before, I have utmost respect for the whenua. Travelling from one area to another, you definitely feel and hear the different vibrations.
The trip that comes to mind at the forefront is our trip to Isha. So totally unexpected, the experience that we had there. It was, and especially swimming in their cleansing pool, that experience had taken away all of the heaviness from our bodies and our lives and provided us a clean, fresh start, something that was very spiritual and reminded me particularly of being home. So that was very special.
so blessed with so many diverse teachers. Teachers that are very astute in their field, have a very deep, vast knowledge that they've been sharing with us. And of course, everyone has their own personality. So I do feel like we've been very spoilt with the choice of teachers, and the subject range has been really enormous, from things that we knew nothing about to like a tiny bit. It's been a very good overview of Ayurveda.
I think that's another really cool experience about learning Ayurveda, is actually thinking more about yourself and how your body is and how you feel. I'm a Vata, so I can't sit still for 5 seconds. But it actually is true to my nature, and I know that it is, and I flit from one to the other. But actually knowing a bit more about your body and how you feel, I've never really investigated or spent a lot of time thinking about myself.
So according to the 3 doshas and the Prakriti, I'm pretty sure that I'm a Kapha. Yeah, but not just any Kapha, I think I'm an extraordinary Kapha. Kappas are very cool, very calm and collected, not easily disturbed. They're very, very patient, never in a hurry, never in a rush to do anything, which sort of I could relate to that. They're not given to anger, but when they do finally get angry, then you should just clear the room and get out of their way.
Medicines. So I did come here with Western medicines to help control my diabetes. And over probably the 3 weeks that I did make that change to give up Western medicine to try AVP, organic plant-based medicines and powders, I'm seeing big changes, and I can't wait to get home and carry that on through.
We get sucked in to the belief that Western medicine is what we need. If only we'd have enough belief in what our ancestors, our tipuna, have, that it gives us a solid platform in which we can grow and have a healthy lifestyle.
One of our lecturers, Dr. Auden Namabuthri, was about giving examples of the work he's done with diabetes patients, being able to save the limbs of many patients using Ayurveda. Whereas in the West, what those patients often told us that there's no way to cure it but amputation. But coming here and learning about Ayurveda and seeing the success of Ayurveda, we know that that's not true at all.
My favourite practical was heading to the herbal medicine garden. So we met the Coimbatore, the elder there, but just to be amongst some of the rarest medicine plants in the world, and to be surrounded in a whole forest of medicine, of ancient medicine that can heal the world, was really a great privilege.
Just as you have sloka here in India, we have what we call whakatauki, or proverbs. One that comes to mind for me in relation to us all here is ko au, ko koe, ko au. I am you, you am I. So if any of you who ever want to come across to New Zealand, look us up. We'll take care of you just as you have taken care of us. Ngā mihi kia koutou katoa.
Ngā whakamoemeti, whakawhetai o manakitanga ki te iwi e tūnei. Ko koe te piringa, ka puta ki te oranga. Hae te ariki pai marire, e te ariki pai marire.
Tēnā koutou katoa, namaste. E te rangatira a Krishna Kumar Ji, moi mai rā. To you, our beloved warrior, Guruji of Ayurveda, rest in peace. To you all whom he placed faith in to continue the word of Ayurveda worldwide, the humblest of greetings. One of our greatest highlights while in India was being able to sit with Krishna Kumar Ji on 3 occasions. The first time was at the AVP Hospital and Training Academy in Mankulangara. We were in awe to see such a great person as he have the time to come and sit and talk with us. One point, Krishna Kumar Ji told us that in order to find what we were seeking, waking up at Brahma Mudra to meditate and pray would allow us to connect spiritually with the universe. This still resonates with me, as in our own culture, it's what we do. It doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, what culture you belong to, our practices define who we are, as all indigenous cultures have a spiritual foundation. The next 2 times was in his office in Coimbatore. How fortunate we were. During those times, he also shared with us his passion and dreams of setting up learning opportunities in India and across the world, encouraging his children, as he called them, to learn and live a life following the principles of Ayurveda. This was certainly humbling and so inspiring. We were blessed to have had that time with him, and I sincerely thank all of you who made that happen, as well as caring for us while we were in India. We are all the legacy and fruition of his dreams. Please keep safe and keep well. Aroha nui, Kiri. Tēnā koutou.
Sorry, ma'am, you're muted.
Thank you, Dr. Niman, for sharing the video and the audio. So it's an example of what transformation has already started to happen in terms of sharing knowledge and practices between India, the Ayurvedic perspectives, and the indigenous Maori practices. Unfortunately, due to COVID, it has slowed down a bit. But the momentum which has been started with the blessings of Dr. Krishna Kumar Ji will help us keep it going in the coming years and forge the possibilities of Ayurvedic education being imparted in New Zealand as well.
Thanks a lot, Prabhaji. The video was truly an eye candy and brought a lot of pride and hope in me. I'm sure it equally entertained and informed a lot of our listeners. Please stay on with us. I think there are plenty of questions coming up on the traditional Maori systems as well. So please be with us. Our next speaker, Dr. C.V. Saumikumar. He's actually the epitome of the example that the brainchild of Krishna Kumar Ji, the modern Gurukula system of Ayurvedic learning, is the best way of going ahead with Ayurveda learning. Because he has completed the intensive 7.5 years of Ayurveda physician course from the AVP Institute of Coimbatore, and has over 28 years of experience in Ayurveda teaching and practice. And currently, he is the managing director of Ancient Gardens Ayurvedic Center in Malaysia. Having an experience of 28 years is, it makes him the best person to tell us more about how successfully we can manage an enterprise, create and manage an enterprise in Malaysia. So we are eagerly awaiting your words, Vaidya Saumikumar. Welcome to the session. Over to you.
Thank you, Nimin. Can you hear me? Dr. Nimin, can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Please go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Namaste to everybody. First of all, thank you for inviting me to this program. I'm honored to be here. I would like to share my screen. Okay. Just a minute. Okay, today's my topic is Ayurvedic entrepreneurship in Malaysia, the challenges and possibilities. Before I go to my subject, Let me share a few words about Krishna Kumar Ji. Without saying about Krishna Kumar Ji, I don't think it will be a good idea to go with my subject right now. Without any doubt, Krishna Kumar Ji was a remarkable person who inspired and motivated many in the field of Ayurveda, and I am no excuse to this. I mean, no assumption to this. I used to travel to Coimbatore whenever I am on leave and meet him. His presence itself was a source of positive energy for me. One of my most vivid memories of him is when I went to him before I start my own center in Malaysia. When the thought came about starting a new center in Malaysia, I consulted few of my friends in India as well as in Malaysia. Many was not happy that I am going to invest in Malaysia. Rather than many told me to, you better come back to India and start your own in India. So in this situation, I went to see Krishna Kumar Ji. He was the person gave me the confidence to start my own business by giving me his blessings. So he was truly a shining light of hope for many, and my humble pranamam to Krishna Kumar Ji. Of course, Nimin has given a few words about me. Still, I would like to give a bit more insight about my journey in Ayurveda. It's all began with my family, which was, of course, this family has a very good tradition in Ayurveda. I would say I was extremely blessed to be born in a reputable family of physicians in Kerala that was passed down their heritage of Ayurvedic practice through generations, making me the 6th generation of practitioner of Ayurveda in Cholai family. Many might have heard about Medimix, the Ayurvedic soap, which also from the same family. In 1985, at the age of 15, I joined for this Ayurvedic course at Ayurveda College, Coimbatore. So ever since I could meet Krishna Kumar Ji, and initially when we see Krishna Kumar Ji in 1985 and all, we were very happy to see such a dynamic figure instead of, so the figure is always in our heart. Later, when years passed, we get more knowledge about Ayurveda, then we know what is actually Krishna Kumar Ji's vision, inspiration, and all that is a lot of motivation for all of us. And my working experience also started from 1993, immediately after my course as an Ayurvedic physician. Initially, I practiced few places in India, specifically to say in Bangalore, Gujarat, and in Tamil Nadu, of course, and also in Kerala. Later, I have traveled to Germany, and I was in Germany for 1.5 years, and again came back to India. Then in 2002, I traveled to Malaysia, also with Arya Vaidyan Pharmacy Coimbatore, and worked for Arya Vaidyan Pharmacy Coimbatore in Malaysia for 15 years. And later, I decided to start my own, and I've started Ancient Gardens Ayurvedic Center since 2018. So before I go to this Ayurvedic entrepreneurship, I would like to give some statistics about these herbal medications. According to the World Health Organization, it is estimated that 80% of world population relies on traditional herbal medicines, or as a basic health care. The statistical portal revealed that in 2017, the highest global market share for herbal products is Western herbs, followed by Chinese herbs, homeopathy, and finally Ayurveda. But there has been substantial growth in the global market for herbal and herbal products for the past 10 years. Not only is there an established market of Ayurveda globally, but there is also a great potential to expand and propagate Ayurveda. So the question for me may be why I have chosen Malaysia. One of the reasons maybe Malaysia is one of the largest contributor to world biodiversity, ranking 12th globally and 4th in Asia as a diversified country. The land is blessed with the tropical rainforest, rich in flora used for herbal medications, and also as the ideal climate very similar to India. When we say the climate, we know that in Ayurveda, we treat according to the seasons. So this is one of the advantage in Malaysia. We have this good climate where a lot of rain and hot climate, and of course, maybe the cold season may be less, but rather than it is very good climate. Despite this, Malaysia is a net importer of herbal products with most imports of raw materials from China, Indonesia, and India. There was establishment of traditional complementary medicine system. They call it as TCMC, to regulate the traditional medicine services in Malaysia. Malaysia offers a ready target of Indians. There are a lot of Indian origin people. So the people who are familiar with the usage of medicinal herbs. So now starting a business in Malaysia, even though if all these conditions, despite the fact and the statistics stated before, an Ayurvedic business in Malaysia has not been a successful endeavor for most. Starting a business, getting licensed, preparing facilities, medications can all be done with fair determination and means. However, sustaining such a business requires the support of people, definitely. Unlike most business where people are accustomed to a certain brand, in the medical field, especially I'll say the traditional medical field, people prioritize the reputation of the physician. So first, the physician has to get a good people's support. That only comes with the practice. So you need to get slowly, steadily practice and get the belief of the people. Then only we can actually get into a brand. When starting my own business, I was through the support of all the patients I have treated in the past 15 years in Malaysia. That helped me forego many challenges that someone may has not built a reputation for themselves in Malaysia might face. Of course, general challenges, if you look, is similar in most of the countries. That is the medicine registration, the human resource, and the exposure. The medicine registration, the medicine is either has to be prepared locally, that means either in Malaysia, or has to be imported from India. If imported from India, it definitely requires the pharmaceutical bureau of Malaysia, the registration, which is with high cost, and the procedure is lengthy, unreliable, and having many unsuccessful cases. The human resources, as you all know, for an Ayurvedic business, the most important resources other than the medicines would be the capable personnel. Therapist and even physician has to be recruited from India, undergoing many formalities to venture into a business in Malaysia. Practitioners are not recognized as doctors, despite possessing a doctorate degree or PhD degree from India due to restrictions and registration. Lack of Ayurvedic educational and training centers in Malaysia contribute to this problem also. When you look at the exposure wise, as mentioned previously, Ayurveda is not properly established or mentioned in any Malaysian education system. So there are many people other than the Indian origin and maybe Chinese origin, especially the Malay origin people, they even don't know the word, or they even never heard the word Ayurveda itself. There is complete lack of exposure. So Ayurveda is also rarely ever mentioned in hospitals as an alternative. Minimal exposure also leads to misconceptions and lack of belief in Ayurveda as a legitimate form of therapy. This leads to a market dependent on word of mouth for business. Hence, the successful Ayurvedic business is rare unless built upon years of reputation among the people. Now, the possibilities wise, there is a tremendous potential to expand and propagate Ayurveda in a population due to the fact Ayurveda itself is safe and reliable medicines, a medical source, I will say. People will always be inclined to opt for safe herbal remedies rather than chemicals that may bring about detrimental side effects. Herbal products have good reputation in Malaysia, which provide a strong base for many Ayurvedic business ventures. For example, Ancient Gardens first released our own line of cosmetic products for skin care and hair care that has seen much demand from all our customers. I will show some of the pictures of the Ancient Garden cosmetic products. The first one is Jade Luster Hair Oil. Of course, it's a combination of 18 herbs, which we prepared there, and we got the license from the Kementerian Kesihatan Malaysia, KKM, they will say in short. And all this need to get proper lab test to make sure there is no chemicals inside. So this all we got as a 100% chemical free. So once it is 100% chemical free, it's very easy to get the license for selling in Malaysia. So what we did, we got this license. Later we took the barcode, and we were able to even market through the hypermarkets like Lulu hypermarkets. There is one other product is the Crimson Dream Night Oil, which is mainly a fusion of this rose petals, essences, and this is we highly recommend for as a night use, a few drops of oil on the face, which will give a good texture for your skin as well as softness for the skin. The next one is the Golden Dew Face Mask. The mask is a good combination of herbs like orange peel, sandalwood, multani tea, and of course there are a few more herbs. And this is also our customers find very helpful for their skin. Definitely their skin texture has changed and the color, more brightness, all that. So it's been used rather a normal facial in a beauty parlor. People can use this by their own in their home. So that was well accepted by the customers. And this is Scarlet Lip Balm for the cracking of the lip and all that. And once we started our products moving along with that one, I also started my center for inpatient as well as outpatient treatment facility. So the center is situated in Seremban in Malaysia, in Negeri Sembilan, the state Negeri Sembilan, and the capital Seremban. So this center is an ideal location for calming the body and mind, and at the same time we treat for all chronic ailments. The center has got a facility for 12 inpatients and also for all kind of outpatient treatment as well as consultation. These are some of the treatment pictures and facilities which I was just showing for general purpose. Now we'll come back to Ayurveda in Malaysia again. The Ministry of Health of Malaysia has traditional medicine branch, which we call as a Bahagian Perubatan Traditional dan Complementary Kementerian Kesihatan Malaysia. This is a organized, we'll say, part of health ministry, which help in setting up traditional medicine in Malaysia. So a lot of helping hand we can get from this KKM Malaysia. This open up possibilities of implementing policies and strategies incorporate Ayurveda into modern medicine and platforms such as the government hospital and educational facilities, bringing about much needed visibility to the general public.
Right.
Traditional medicine has made significant contribution to the healthcare of Malaysian citizens for the past decade. This will eventually promote government support to help our ventures.
Yes.
Malaysia's natural source of health will become an asset for nation to flourish business involving traditional medicines.
Sir, so Dr. Somi sir, I think we are very keen to listen more about Varriar, to share about Malaysia, but for the want of time.
Yes, I'm concluding. Yes, thank you. So definitely that's all my points right now. So thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Wonderful presentation, sir. And we can actually see the ordeal that you have gone through to establish Ayurveda in Malaysia. So we wish you all the best to the future also. Please stay on with us for the questions and for the discussions.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Moving on, we have Dr. Paswati Bhattacharya with us. True to her name, Dr. Paswati Bhattacharya is a radiant beacon of Ayurveda, if I may say so. She is currently the clinical assistant professor of family medicine in the Department of Medicine in Joanne and Stanford One Whale Medical College of Cornell University, and founder director of the Dinsharia Institute, New York, USA. She is extending her expertise to the US Department of State as a consulting expert specializing in integrative medicine and Ayurveda. She is the health and medical consultant at the Paswati Group, New York. Not to mention that she is a celebrated author and an illustrious faculty. I cannot actually give enough justice to her profile for the want of time, actually. But incessant struggle for the recognition and upheaval of Ayurveda internationally and especially in the United States truly deserves a standing ovation. That being said, as a medical doctor, Paswati ma'am, please tell us more about your journey, the Ayurveda journey in the US, and how can the new aspirants prepare for a journey like the one you're doing? Over to you.
Namaste to everyone, and thank you for the invitation. Jnana timirandhasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshurun militam yena tasmai shri gurave namaha. So for those of you who are still waiting for your inner Sanskrit to come out and be part of your brain, what this shloka is saying, it's part of the Guru Ashtaka, 8 sacred shlokas to the Guru. And it's saying that we salute and bow to that holy person, that Guru, who removes the darkness, the timir, of ignorance, which was ajnana. Jnana is wisdom, and ajnana is lack of wisdom or ignorance. And that blindness that we have, which is that ignorance, is taken away by the ointment or the anjana of spiritual and vigyan, which is verified knowledge. And that is only imparted to us from the Guru. And so many people look for Guru. Many people just go to school as their parents tell them. And some of us actually are kidnapped by our gurus who find us. And many of them have shown up at the AVP 7.5-year experiment, which was in Mangere. And they ended up being some of the most outstanding physicians that we have today in Ayurveda, making all kinds of inroads in like Smt.Kumar and Ram Manohar and Indulal sir and Gangadharan and so many of the family who are recognized around the country as experts. So my journey was a little bit different, and I will share some slides with you to take you through my journey. I have been in the USA, but I also have traveled a lot around the world because I first started out as a pharmacologist and neuroscientist and studied science. But then I had a degree also in public health, and I did international medical missions around the world. So I was seeing how medicine is practiced around the world, not just pharmaceutical medicine, but the reality, which was mentioned just now by Dr. Soumya Kumar, which is that 75 to 80% of people around the world, especially those in emergency situations, go to their ancestral medicines. And so with the degree in public health, I then studied modern medicine. So I was a scientist first. Actually, I studied neuroscience and then pharmacology and then public health. And my public health advisor told me you should go to medical school because otherwise people will not give you the credibility. And I had already started studying in Tibet, traditional herbal minerals. But he said, go to medical school. And so I did, got a modern medical degree, started to practice, and did a film actually on Ayurveda. It's still on the Discovery Channel. It's called Healer's Journey into Ayurveda. And as it turns out, when that film came out on the Discovery Channel, showing how I was going back and forth from India to the US to look for medicines for my patients in New York Presbyterian Hospital, where I've spent most of my career in one of the hospitals of that network. So I did that film, and I was very keen actually not just to be a doctor as in an MD physician, but to help heal patients. Whatever helps heal the patient is real medicine. So when I did the film in Kerala, I found that Ayurveda was giving serious change and treatment to people who had incurable, terminal, chronic diseases that my black bag of allopathy told me were impossible to cure. And meanwhile, there was this Ayurvedic side. And that really started my journey. Some say that, I was on a very nice ladder towards success. I would have had a very illustrious career as a mainstream medical doctor. But when I did that film, I had no anticipation that Krishna Kumar Ji would sit and watch it. And so he was sitting in his childhood friend Mano Venkatraman's house in Washington State near Seattle, and saw it, and he said to her, do you know this woman? And of course I knew Mano knew me because she's an epidemiologist, I was a public health person. And she put me on the phone with him. And when I first heard his voice, I felt this echo from the past. I think I traveled in time, and I remember thinking that I knew him. I knew him from long ago. And it was a feeling that many of us who have met Krishna Kumar Ji for the first time feel. So I was on call. I was actually the chief attending for the entire unit of some 60, 80 patients. And Krishna Kumar Ji used to call me 1 or 2 hours every night, talk late. And he said, why don't you come to India? I'm heading back from Washington to India. So why don't you come? I said, you don't understand my job. I work 19 hours a day and I don't have a break until June. He said, well, why don't you just wish it to be intended to happen and it will come true? I said, Krishna Kumar Ji, how does that work? So you can imagine how much grounded I was in the world of mainstream medicine. I did end up going to AVP. Krishna Kumar Ji actually took me on as his official guru. I received Grantha, and he became my Diksha Guru, and I learned Ayurveda from him. And he sat with me every day for 6-8 hours and gave me a notebook, and I learned the basic principles, and I picked them up very quickly. And I asked him why I could pick it up, and it's because it's already inside you. We just have to take the outer coatings off. So after that, I did study nutrition because doctors are just so unarmed to treat diseases in modern medicine. And then finally, I asked him about studying Ayurveda, and I was too old according to the India criteria. But at Banaras Hindu University, I was able to do my PhD in Ayurveda during which time I sat in for the BAMS classes, I sat in for the MD classes, and then I did my PhD research. And so I have studied through Gurukul, which is the classic way of studying, and I've also studied through many others. And I give my obeisance to all of these people in the US who trained me in pharmacology and medicine and public health, but then to Vaidya Raghavan, who many of you know, gave me Vaidyaratnam, and then to Krishna Kumar Ji, who became my formal Diksha Guru, and to my mentor at BHU, who is Chandrabhushan Jha, who many of you know is a living legend of Rasa Shastra, which was my topic. So my journey with him, this is when I first met him. This was in 2002-03. And he actually had an injured ankle. And so we spent a lot of time together because he couldn't go very far. So he was trapped and I would just sit with him. And we traveled all the way through until last year. So I have a lot of memories of my own personal growth over these almost 20 years. My professional demise, because I lost my career in modern medicine. And in fact, I was called a witch doctor, and I've been humiliated many times, both by the allopathic fraternity, who thinks that I'm a quack doctor, and by the Ayurvedic fraternity, who says that I am not a real Ayurvedic person. And so I somehow am sitting between the two communities doing what I do. What I do is help people to understand Ayurveda in the USA. So I know I just have 1 minute remaining. Can I speak for 2 extra minutes, Niminji?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Okay. So I'm just going to give an overview, and then in the discussion, if there's time, I don't think there will be time, you can always write to me at this address, which is on the front, or you can just ask me questions through Facebook or something. The scope and practice of Ayurveda in the USA is a very interesting one. And if you can learn the entire circle, you can actually become very successful. So there are a handful of Vaidyas who have made it to the USA and are making at least $100,000 US a year, which is on par with some of the best professions. Most do not make that. And there are a lot of reasons why, which both Dr. Nambi and Dr. Kumar have mentioned. And it has to do with the weaknesses of the education system and the mindset of most Vaidyas. The 6 areas that I could spend each an hour on, start with first. The first thing you have to have is Swadhyaya and a guru. A guru, not everyone is privileged to get a guru, but if you have one, that person can guide you and ground your work in authentic Ayurveda. Then comes the dawn at the top, and then you start with education. So you both learn, but you have to understand how people learn in order to teach it. And the failing that we have in the US is that most of the Vaidyas that come start to teach the BAMS syllabus. And it's a very big challenge because the students in America do not want the BAMS syllabus. What they want is the actual practical stuff. So since I specialize in student-centered learning and have been teaching for so long, the syllabus that we have at Dinacharya Institute teaches people basically how to learn what of Ayurveda they need to take care of themselves, to take care of their friends and family, and then to learn how to move into the vikritis that patients will get. And not everyone wants to treat patients. They just want to be counselors. The clinical practice is a necessary part of learning Ayurveda. I say this both to my students in India and in America, that Ayurveda is a living science and it's a clinical science. And without the clinical understanding, it doesn't matter how much Sanskrit you know, it doesn't matter how much allopathy you know, you cannot practice patient, you cannot understand Ayurveda unless you do good practice of clinical. There's also research, there's understanding sales and marketing, there's understanding the regulatory issues of trade and manufacturing. And of those, I'm just gonna throw you through some slides. You need to understand the licensing. I happen to be one of the only that is both licensed in modern medicine and also certified in Ayurveda with a degree in Ayurveda, but most people don't have that. They usually just have degrees in Ayurveda if they're Vaidyas, or they have these kind of Ayurvedic health and wellness counselor certifications from the US. If you look at Ayurveda seen as only a wellness and dietary supplements, yes, you can see that, but Ayurveda, as we know, treats for wellness and illness, right? So swasthasya swasthya rakshanam is what is emphasized only in the US. But now the Vaidyas are saying, no, we can also treat almost every illness. And there are many that are using the dietary supplements as medicines. So I have actually, I wanted to pull out a bunch of slides, but I knew I would just have 10, 15 minutes. I have done dozens of talks, and the requirements for practicing in the USA are systematic, and if you learn them one by one, you can actually go quite far. There are many people learning, so you can be an educator, but you have to understand the social part. There are government rules around the FDA and Health Canada and the NIH, which you can learn. Mostly you should be an entrepreneur, as Madam Prabha said, from New Zealand and from Asia. There are so many entrepreneurial ideas. This was at the Thai Summit, the Indus Entrepreneur Summit. And then what I do, because I was a scientist, is I teach people about the science of Ayurveda and not translating it, but showing the parallels so that people keep the authentic Ayurveda and then they learn that there are scientific correlates. So here's the immune system, and here's the definition of ojas. Here's the metalome, and then I talk about the plasmas and how they work. I talk about the interstitium, which is a new organ that was discovered by modern medicine, and why the highway under the skin is a place where our oils of Ayurveda can go in and penetrate. I talk about how the cerebral cortex affects the stomach and how we understand vivecheti, muncheti in the gut, and why the way of understanding the gut is superior to almost every medical system, because we really do well with gut diseases. I talk about hair oil and how there is communication between the oil that we put on the head, whether it's Shirodhara or daily hair oil, and how it gets into the brain. And this is evidence in science. So I'm not translating, I'm correlating. I talk about statins and cholesterol. I talk about fasting, which we call upavasa. I talk about dinacharya and the chronobiology. And I have a whole bunch of information on that because of the book Everyday Ayurveda that I wrote. And then I have classes. So we teach shloka by shloka what ahara is. We teach the 7 deadly white foods and what you can do in the modern day. And I'm going to leave you with the fact that when you teach, you have to be clear. Instead of using gunas as an adjective, which is what most Vaidyas do, I take them to the level 2 and I say, use gunas as a verb and understand the action, the karma of these dravyas, and they wake up to a new level of understanding. This is the Dinacharya masterclasses. We have Vaidyas there, we have Ayurvedic practitioners there, and we have people from all over the world at the classes. And then I write a news column every week. I'm on week 78 or 79 right now. And that's available at this blogs for everyone for free if you would like to read. Many of the people that grab these columns are Vaidyas in America who teach their patients about it. And so I dedicate the session to my mom, who died last year, just before Krishna Kumar Ji. And they taught me so much about Ayurveda. I would love to teach each of you about specifics of how to practice Ayurveda in the USA, and you can find several talks on YouTube on this subject from a whole host of wonderful Vaidyas who have been sharing on exactly this topic with a lot of detail. Thank you for listening to me. Namaste.
Wonderful presentation, ma'am. In fact, I don't have the problem that you mentioned, because you have been positioned between allopathy and Ayurveda, and it has affected your professional career. But I actually find it benefiting Ayurveda a lot, because I've been following your work, and from what I see, it has been that key position which has made you capable enough to contribute this correlating aspects and bring more insights into the scientific aspects of Ayurveda. So thank you so much for that, especially, man. And please stay tuned with us for the panel discussions towards the end. So let's move on to the next speaker. Thank you, ma'am. So when it comes to getting things done, there are actually two kinds of people, right? Those kinds of people who get things done somehow, and then there are people like Dr. Kenji Sakai, who is focusing on perfection, because Dr. Kenji chose to learn Ayurveda the hard way. He opted for the full BAMS course from Gujarat Ayurveda University and is currently an accredited Ayurveda physician. The efforts seem to have paid off, in fact, because today Dr. Sakai is one of the most prominent figures of Ayurveda in Japan, being the vice chairman of Ayurveda Society of Japan, and he is also the representative of Kobe Ayurveda Institute. Personally, I find it really close to my heart to have an opportunity to have discussing Ayurveda with a Japanese individual who is also versed in Ayurveda, because I am kind of becoming a Japanophile out of all this. But I'm also sure that there are our listeners who are very keen to learn from you about the education and practice of Ayurveda in Japan, and also about its possibilities and challenges. So, welcoming Dr. Kenji Sakai to our discussions. Over to you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Nimi. Maybe we have no time so much, so shall I start?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, namaste. I'm Dr. Kenji Sakai from Japan. I'm very happy to speak about Ayurveda in Japan today. May Dr. Krishna Kumar Ji bless me. Now we can start education and practice of Ayurveda in Japan, possibility and challenge. Before my lectures, this photo is Japanese Dhamantri. This one, yeah, we can call Vaishyaja Guru. You can see the pot on the hand, and there's like Amrita inside. So India and Japan have a long-standing relationship before. Yeah, this is Japanese Dhamantri. So Ayurveda came to Japan around 8th century through the Buddhism. Yeah, here mentioned about this red line, mentioned the Vata, this is Pitta, and this is Kapha. So this line mentioned for Vata problem, you can use oil. For Pitta, you can use vichakshanan. For Kapha, you can use Vamana, like that. So it shows more than 1,000 years ago, Ayurveda came to Japan. But the relationship with China is more closer than the India. So gradually Chinese medicine become more popular in Japan. This is my introductions. I was staying in Gujarat for BMS. After that, I joined the PG program Panchakarma. And around 7 years, I was staying in India with my family. After that, I came back to Japan. So when I came back to Japan, I established Kobe Ayurveda Institute in Japan and started teaching Ayurveda. So from 2016 to 2019, I took my student to ABP for training therapist course and the food coordinator course. Whenever we came to ABP, Dr. Krishna Kumar Ji gave us satsang. He gave us a lot of love and peace, and he encouraged us to spread real Ayurveda in Japan. He's always said, I'm just an instrument of God for spreading Ayurveda. It was good and deep lesson to me. And I'm also trying to, someone crying?
Sorry about that. I will just,
yeah,
please go ahead.
It's okay?
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay. It was, it was good and deep lesson to me. And I'm also trying to same attitude to spread Ayurveda in Japan. Yes. Problems for spreading Ayurveda in Japan. There are two big problems for spreading Ayurveda in Japan. First, most people don't know about Ayurveda. Most people don't even know the name of Ayurveda. That is a big problem. Only few people, like yoga practice people, know Ayurveda. And the second, Ayurveda is not legally recognized as medicine. So we cannot treat people by using like a yoga rajguru or panchakarma. For treatment, we need a Western doctor license. So it's a big problem for spreading Ayurveda in Japan. Then, so what is aim of Ayurveda? The first is treatment of the disease, and the second, prevention of disease. So as I said, treatment is very difficult because we need a license of Western doctors. The prevention is like educations. So like we teach dinacharya, how to spend the day, like a ritucharya, how to spend the season. This we can do. So prevention of disease, like promotion of the health, is more easier spreading Ayurveda in Japan. So I concentrated on the prevention method. Then I started this kind of things, like education, like a basic things, not use like a Sanskrit terms and a difficult word. So more practical things. When should I get up? Like how much you do the exercise? What is the constitution of you? Like that. And then planting. So we have like a tulsi and brahmi and yeshtimadu, like Ayurvedic herbs. So we are starting planting. And then now there are many Ayurvedic herbs we can get now. And cooking course. So actually Japanese not using so much spices. So first we have to know what is this spices, the name. And then how to use the spices as a health promoting things, like that. Then we can do the massage course, like Abhyanga, but should be the self-Abhyanga. Then worship things, like spiritual education and Indian philosophy we teach. At this, we start Ayurvedic education in Japan. So now, 2021, I have 15 branches in Japan. Then around 1,000 students graduate from my school. So it's not so much, but year by year, the people who want to study Ayurveda is increasing now. And the new challenges for treatment. In cooperation with the Western doctors. Actually, he is ENT doctor, Mr. Kitanishi. Actually, I alone cannot do treatment, but with Western doctor, I can do some treatment like a nausea and taking some evidence. So it will be more important for futures. So now I'm starting like a new challenges for treatment. Then for future, our mission is to give Ayurvedic better education and improve the quality of life of the Japanese. So the quality of life of Japanese is not only physical, but also mental and spiritual also, that we can do by Ayurvedic educations. Loka samasta sukino bhavantu. Thank you so much for your kind attentions. Thank you so much. Namaste.
Thank you, Dr. Kenji Asakai. It is actually true eye-opener to know about how Ayurveda has been practiced in Japan. And just like that tree, which is getting only the right amount of sunlight and nutrients, I'm sure that with such constrained atmosphere, your practice in Ayurveda will even become much more prolific and beneficial. So wish you all the very best. We have one more speaker with us today, Dr. Tirtha. Dr. Tirtha Vijayaraj is in fact an example of how far a motivation of Krishna Kumar Ji can take you in the progress of your career. She started off as a BAMS graduate from Parshikana Medical College. She's also part of the AVP family because she is already having a AVP clinic, and she was part of the Ayurveda hospital in Coimbatore. She was a medical officer over there. It is interesting to know that she is also a Kalari Marma practitioner. She is well vested in the pharma therapies in the Kalari system. Currently, she is in Singapore, and she desires one of her biggest dreams is to start a clinic over there in the name of Krishna Kumar Ji as a tribute to the Guru. So over to you, Dr. Tirtha. We are eager to hear from you.
Thank you, Doctor. Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmatacharya Paryandam Vande Guru Paramparam. I offer my obeisance to the supreme grace of Guru Kripa on this auspicious occasion of Bhadrapada Paurnami, the day on which Paramatma or Lord Narayan is worshipped as Satyanarayan. And I think I consider Prachar is a path for self-realization, to know your Satyam, and then to propagate that Jnanam or knowledge for the betterment of our world. And this is the most precious advice and inspiration my Guruji conveyed throughout his whole life. And he considered Ajnanam or ignorance as the main adharma which is engulfing the world now, and taught us to strive always to know the Satyam or our inner divinity to remove this Ajnanam. He had described this beautifully by quoting the verse from Gita's Jnana Yogam, Yada Yada Hi Dharmasya Glanir Bharata Abhyuthana Adharmasya Tadatmanam Sujamiham. Like once we have, we became aware of this adharma, that is ignorance, and have an immense or intense desire to realize the truth, the nature of ourself. Sometimes we are not able to attain by our own effort. Then the supreme power or the Paramatma will reincarnate or take Nama Rupa in the form of Guru to remove the darkness of ignorance. And Guru will help to turn our outward focus, that is Bahirmuga mind, to Andarmuga, and thus tailors his Shishya to his level, that is to the Atma level. So there will be a transfer of knowledge from heart to heart, not to merely to mind. I think both Guru and Shishya are not separated at Atma level or the need to have a Advaita or non-duality for the transfer of Jnanam, like Shankaracharya explained in his commentary of Kadopanishad, was Ananya Prokte Gadiratra Nasti. And when one attained this level, we started to realize the real nature of our self, our inner divinity, and that is Sneham or love. I know that everyone who has met my Guruji would have experienced and received sneham in one form or the other. And my Guruji considered charity as one of the form of sneham, which inspired me to take up social services in both India and Singapore. And along with us, I'm planning to start a non-profit organization in Singapore in future. And I think it will come. Guru, like he always emphasized that to do our duty or karma without any sense of doership, and he was living that. He advised me to have a good foundation and understanding of Sanskrit language for absorbing or go deep into our classical texts. And now I'm studying Sanskrit in a structured way. In Singapore, there are many facilities and opportunities like Samskrita Bharati Association, etc. And as you all know, Acharya Susruta said, a person who study only one Shastra may not arrive at a proper conclusion, and therefore a Vaidya should strive to learn as many related science as possible. And my Guru used to say this often, and to get up early, to read any book or to know other Shastras. And this inspired me to start and learn other Shastras like Jyotisha Shastram, Gemology, Tantra Shastram, and Vastu Vidya. And I think this helped me a lot to understand and interpret our classical text in a different perspective level. And my intention is to incorporate all this knowledge system along with an access to all our classical books as a part of the organization. And I think for all these to come, spirituality, one should have spirituality. So when spirituality buds in us, these all will definitely start to manifest. I think so. Spirituality is nothing but our shraddha or our focus on our inner divinity. That is a constant focus on our locus. Then telling about the country's aspiring to implement our guru jnanam or our guru's inspiration in a practical aspect in any country, I think we should first observe and absorb the culture, the systems, the rules, and then we should appropriately adapt to coexist with that system, keeping our root of jnanam or the root jnanam intact. Now I'm trying to soak myself in this country's culture system to study more on the illness with the highest disease burden in Singapore. And we got opportunity to be a part of some of the community welfare programs like mental health organization, differently abled community organization, and also got chance to work with some few clinics in Singapore, which helped me to know more about the country's healthcare systems, rules, and regulations. Uh, and now I'm trying to study about the local plants available here and how we can use that in our treatments or in our level. And recently had some discussion with the parent associations in some schools, and where they are more concerned about the immunity issues of the children, like they are getting fever frequently, cold frequently, so they want to implement or introduce any herbal medicines or any easy home remedies for the same. And I think we are working on that. And so there are many scopes for Ayurveda, but there are many problems also for Ayurveda. I think with complete Atma Sarma Arpanam to my Guru, his Karunya will shower and all doors will be open for the prachar of my Guru's vision. And I still feel Guru's omnipotent guidance. And with all due respect and pranams to all, Mahatmas present here. I dedicate this to my Guru as my Guru Dakshina. Namo Namasri Guru Padukabhyam.
Splendid words,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Krishna. Splendid words. In fact, we could all feel that synchronization that you even now have with Krishna Kumar Ji, and also you've been true to his aspirations and goals he set with every student or his disciples. I can also see that you are more than finding opportunities, you are focusing inwards to raise that emotional, the spiritual connect. And this is the same advice he gave to me also, like rather than looking for all the ways to invest in your enterprise, invest in yourself. Find more ways to learn and grow. And it's very interesting to listen to you. And I wish you all the best on behalf of the team.
Thank
so,
you.
Thank you. So we have come to a conclusion of the speakers' individual presentations and discussions. Now we are open for a panel discussion session. So if there are any burning questions, questions that you really need to get answered by our speakers, you may please add to the chat box, or I think the technical team will be opening up the mics if I'm correct. Meanwhile, I think we can start a few questions from our end. Narayan Nandi sir, are you still online?
Yes, I am.
Sir, welcome back, sir. So I was wondering, like being a traveler of different places, have you ever come across any place that you have felt is optimal for Ayurveda, where you could, when you have visited that place, you might have felt, yeah, if we could bring Ayurveda here, it would have flourished like anything. Have you ever come across such a place outside India, which is yet to get the benevolence of Ayurveda?
Actually, there are many places. Many places when we travel extensively in Europe, there are many places we feel, okay, this is a very beautiful place where we could able to develop Ayurveda. Doesn't mean from the perspective of the climate or perspective of the herbs, rather the place where we feel a tranquility, a place where we feel very serene atmosphere in that perspective. For example, I was traveling in the Croatia. I was traveling in Estonia. When I stayed in some places, I felt, oh, this is such a nice place where we could able to think about an Ayurvedic center where we can ask people to stay and took treatment and we could able to bring results. The fundamental difference between what I found, a fundamental difference between a Western world as well as especially in India. We are very fortunate that by and large, even though we have a lot of sound noise outside our body, I mean in the society, luckily we have some silence within inside. Somehow we are fortunate to have some silence inside. But when we travel in the Western world, especially I'm speaking in my experience in the Europe, most of the Western world, people travel, if I travel in different part of the Western world, meet people and make interactions, many times they used to say that we find a place very serene, very silent, but there are a lot of noise inside, there are a lot of turbulence inside. So this is a very important thing, what I found a big difference. And then if we are able to help people to find some silence, find some balance, find some tranquility, definitely there is always a space for Ayurveda, in short.
Thank you, sir. I hope you don't take it as a trick question. So we already got a few points where we could expand Ayurvedic propagation to different places. Thanks a lot for joining us, sir.
I think that's Dr. Nimin's camera that's giving problems because I can see everyone else moving.
Yes.
So I think that's Dr. Nimin's connection problem.
I think it will be better the next speaker would hand over and ask questions if it's anything is.
Dr. Nimin is back. Hopefully he will unmute and go.
Yeah, sorry about that. You
Dr.
know, technology
Nimin,
always
are you there?
betrays us at times. Yeah.
Okay.
I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Right. Sorry about that. I was wondering if Dr. Kenji was still here. I don't see him in the list. So let me go ahead with the next speaker. Ms. Prabha Govindasamy, I heard you mention the Maori traditional treatment system. I think it was called Ronga Maori, if I'm right. I don't know how to pronounce it. But being able to witness the traditional system of New Zealand and able to experience Ayurveda in India, do you find any similarities in the Maori system and what we practice?
Yes, it is also a plant-based treatment. So it is very new. New Zealand itself is a very new country. So the traditional practices in terms of treatment and well-being is not well documented and scripted, and it's still very new. And because of colonization, it has been kept at a very low level. So the empowerment that this group of students had when they came to India to learn about how Ayurveda struggled and is still struggling to some extent, they are able to connect and they're able to see how this journey to make the Rango Maori recognized as one of the mainstream practices, it can be carried on. So they gained that strength. They've taken it back to New Zealand, and hopefully the journey will carry on to make it into a more commonly practiced system. So yes, there are similarities, but Ayurveda is very old, long, followed for a long time, whereas the Rango Maori is very new and young. But there are similarities as well.
Thank you for that. So I guess if the Ayurvedic system is introduced in New Zealand, there will be more people adopting it more like their own system, right? Because of that similarity. So from the video that you had shared, I also see that the students are very much delighted about to learn about Ayurveda. So yeah.
The openness is there. So definitely there are opportunities to keep it going, and the spirit is there. So hopefully in a decade, we always need to wait for a long time for things to nurture and grow strongly. So hopefully it will have its place in New Zealand very soon.
Very true, very true. So with the guidance of Krishna Kumar Ji and the support of AVP institutions and with people like you over there for us, we can surely see that Ayurveda is soon to be a mainstream system in New Zealand. So all the best for that. Thank you a lot for joining us. My next question is to Dr. Padmashri Prachar. From your profile, I could see that you are regularly endeavoring to bring policy changes in the administration for better reception of Ayurveda in the US.
Sorry, I couldn't hear the question. I just heard something about policy changes. Nimin? Oh, he's frozen.
And I can also see that there are numerous hello.
Intermittent.
Can you hear me now?
Say it again.
I really apologize for my poor internet connection.
Just turn off your video
I'll
with a better bandwidth.
I'll do
turn
that.
off your video.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
go
did
ahead.
that. I was asking that from your profile, I could see that you were connecting with a lot of government bodies in the United States to make policy changes in administration for better reception of Ayurveda. So what are the key pain points that you experience when you have to handle the US democracy, the bureaucratic aspects, and how can Ayurveda system back home change or adopt methods which would benefit your efforts in the US?
So the first thing is you have to understand the policy. Most of the Vaidyas that come to the US do not understand many of the policies. And in fact, I've been to many of the meetings in India, in Delhi, where the Ministry of Ayush members are saying things that just are not true. So actually, I had thought not to mention anything else and just go through exactly this question that you've asked for the balance of my 10 minutes. But I thought it would be rude not to discuss the experience of ABP. So there are 3 quick rules I'm going to tell you that are important. First is that there is health freedom in 11 states right now. Health freedom is safe harbor laws written into the language of that state that says that people without a medical license, who don't claim to be a medical physician, who don't claim to be MD, medical physician, who don't claim to treat diseases using modern medicine, can actually practice their particular medical system legally. Now, can they do everything that they do in India? No, because they can't do what medical doctors do. And one of them includes invasive like surgeries that are Ayurvedic surgeries or Ayurvedic, going inside the body. But they can practice a lot of things. Of those 11 states, those safe harbor or those health freedom states, many of the Vaidyas have gone there. So Amit Guman is in Oklahoma. There's a whole bunch of people in California. There's a whole bunch of people in Maine, Rhode Island, Idaho, Minnesota, so many of the states of the US. So if you know that there's health freedom, you can actually practice. And that should be mentioned by these people in India who think when they say, oh, Ayurveda is not at all practicable. It is practicable. Is it recognized as a medical system? It's not unrecognized. And in fact, there are many other systems that have used that loophole, such as osteopathy, acupuncture and oriental medicine, chiropractic, naturopathic medicine. There are many other types of medical systems that have gotten into that loophole. Ayurvedic people should do the same, but they're not doing it because they're not organized and they don't understand law. So that's the first, the health freedom. Second is DSHEA. DSHEA is DSHEA, Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act of 1994, which said that if it's not FDA approved as a medicine with all the clinical trials and studies, then you can bring it in as long as you don't make claims for its medicinal effect. So you can make health claims, but not medicinal claims. So many people say, oh, that means that Ayurvedic medicines aren't available as medicines. They're not recognized as medicines, and that's bad. But if you're patient-centered, then the patient can get access to those medicines as dietary supplements much more easily than they could if they were medicines. If they were medicines, then the MDs would have to know how to prescribe them, and they don't get educated in Ayurveda in the US, and in fact in India also. So DSHEA allows people to get access to those medicines very easily. And so everything that is ingestible is a dietary supplement from Ayurveda. Great. So we have kashayams, we have plasmas, we have gutikas, we have churnas, we have all kinds of medicines in the US, and they are legally available. Vaidyas come and they start arguing with me that it's not available. And then I have to teach them and say, look, I'm not practicing illegally. This is available. Here are the websites. Go there and order it. And so they learned that what they learned in India was actually wrong. Then the third is that you have to understand that this is a patient-centered, patient choice
country. So people can't be forced to do things. So if they want to choose their type of medicine, they have the right to do so. So they can go anywhere they want to get the kind of medicine that they want to use. And that is why there are pockets that allow homeopathy and aromatherapy, and actually all of the Ayush systems, you know, Ayurveda, Unani, Siddha, homeopathy, yoga, naturopathy, and so on. You can get those in the US. So if you understand those, and then you keep aware of the law. So there's just a law that's come in as a bill that is going to allow all the dietary supplements to be covered by the health savings accounts and flexible spending accounts, which are all the people that keep money aside for all the things that are not doctor visits. And so if dietary supplements can be covered, then Ayurvedic medicines will soon be covered by insurance and in the form of these health savings accounts. And these are big movements forward. So these are just 3 of the policies that are there. And my statement is that we really need to have people aware of these. All of this miseducation that happens, that I see in the Indian seminars, it's really tough, because then people come to America and they not only don't know the culture, but they don't know the laws. And that is why Ayurveda has not been able to make the kind of stands that it could. I also want to mention that there's a lot of research going on. There was just a few conferences in the last few months about research of Ayurveda in America. NIH has funded several projects that are looking at Ayurvedic remedies. And I sit on a committee at the NIH where we look, I actually handle the curcumin and turmeric folder, and we're looking at the efficacy of Ayurvedic medicines. So that's a summary of the policies.
Right. Truly inspirational words. And rightly, as you pointed out, there are phenomenal changes happening in the US. And as it is a people-centric system over there, if we do the right thing, if we convey the right messages and do the right things under the law, there are more chances of more people getting exposed to Ayurveda and they vouch for Ayurveda. And that's a very favorable news. So thanks a lot, Saraswati ma'am, for joining us. In fact, your works are truly providing the arsenal for us to fight people who are saying Ayurveda is non-scientific or there is no validation. So keep doing your astounding works. You are truly a vanguard of Ayurveda. Wish you all the best in the progress of Ayurveda. Thank you. My next question is to Dr. Kumar sir. You had mentioned that Malaysia is only waking up to the word Ayurveda. Even though there are pockets of Ayurveda practice in Malaysia, more and more people needs to know about Ayurveda even more. So, Kumar sir, what is the biggest misconception about Ayurveda that you have regularly faced in Malaysia, and how can we actually overcome that?
Okay.
Over to you, something.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. See, in the regular practice, we see a lot of people, first of all, comes to any Ayurvedic center. The first thing they will ask, can we get 100% cure? So this is a common question. Many of them, when they come to, they want complete assurance or guarantee before they start any Ayurvedic treatment. See, this is normally, if any person to any other hospital or any other system of medicine, I don't think they will come to with such a question. So that is one thing. People have a misconception that herbal medicines really can't help them 100% to cure any of their problem. And many of them, they consider herbal medicine just only as a supplements or just enhance the immune system or just to boost their vitality, vigor. This kind of conception only they are usually coming to the centers. Once we explain them the possibility and treatment facilities and what are the treatments and facilities, what we have and how this will help, definitely slowly they are trying to go for that and they find the result. And definitely now, from my experience from the last 15 or 18 years right now, I think more than 18 years now. So in Malaysia, I mean, So there, the very beginning, the people just come for only just relaxation, rejuvenation, just looking for a massage or those kind of things. Now, even a simple, what do you say, the problem like a fever or a cold, cough, to an extent where the doctors suggest for go for an operation, they consult again an Ayurvedic physician. I mean, I have seen so many such cases, and they come to us, they get the second opinion. After that, they will try Ayurveda and they get the result, and we could avoid so many people getting, I mean, a lot of operations suggested by the modern doctors. Especially, there are so many cases of disc prolapse, disc bulge, disc herniation, which we could treat easily with our herbal preparations, medications, as well as massage treatments and proper follow-up. So definitely, I'll say the awareness of Ayurveda initially was very less, but as slowly, steadily, it's improving, and so many people are coming as a first-line treatment as Ayurveda in Malaysia right now. So that is one of the good thing I see right now in Malaysia. Okay.
Yes, sir. I think from what you said, there are plenty of people who are, I think not just in Malaysia, when they're looking for an alternative or a better management for their health, they want the best out of it. So it is out of their desperation they might be asking this question. But with very efficient people with experience of around 3 decades, we are sure that the name of Ayurveda will, flourish even more, and more people will come to Ayurveda. Yes, thanks a lot, Kumar sir, for joining us. So I think we have to
wind up.
We are nearing conclusion. Yes, Dr. Tirtha is also having some inconvenience continuing. And in short, it was a splendid talk, and I really enjoyed each and everyone who had brought in very new and insightful points to our discussion. And I'm sure that all of our listeners might have equally enjoyed. They're all widely available throughout the internet, and there are connections. So if there are more questions coming up, you can definitely connect with them in person. They are all very receptive and eager to help us out, especially the young and upcoming generation, to follow the paths of Krishna Kumar Ji. They have all been blessed directly by his presence and advices, so they can act as antennas, transferring the messages of Krishna Kumar Ji to even a wider audience. And the platform PRACHAAR has been doing a wonderful job. All the speakers before today's session and the speakers that are coming up in the upcoming sessions, I'm sure there are wonderful sessions happening, and that has already happened. So I would like to thank once again the organizers who have thought about me and believe somehow that I would be capable of handling such a wonderful panel. I hope I had done the least I could. So I'll hand over now with all gratitude and pranams to Krishna Kumar Ji, to the host, Dr. Srija. Over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Niman. Dear speakers, we are Dr. Nambi sir, Dr. Baswati Bhattacharya, Mrs. Prabha Madam, Dr. Kenji Asakai, Dr. Tirtha, and Dr. C.B. Soumya Kumar sir. We are honored with your presence itself, and it enriched and enhanced our program. You shared how Krishna Kumar Ji influenced your life and moved you emotionally and spiritually, and we could have another glimpse of him through your memories. The discussions and analysis of yours would definitely be productive to those who seek to have a global Ayurvedic career and would inspire them as well. Dear Dr. Niman, thank you for accepting our invitation to moderate today's session. You are one of the faces of modernization of Ayurveda, and we are so happy to have you and hear your views on Krishna Kumar Ji as well. Once again, we bow to Krishna Kumar Ji's great soul. Thank you everyone for joining PRACHAAR, organized by Ashirvad Health and Education Trust and Sharanya Ayurveda Hospital, supported by the Arya Vaidya Pharmacy, Coimbatore Limited, and Ashirvad Ayurveda Pharmacy. We will continue tomorrow, same place. Today's program will be available on YouTube on Sharanya Ayurveda Hospital's channel. Thank you. Good night.